Are you feeling overwhelmed and uncertain about how to scale your business sustainably? Do you have big dreams for your business, but you're struggling to turn them into reality? Or maybe you're just tired of sacrificing your health, your well being, time with your family, and your own self care all in the pursuit of success. Not only is this not sustainable, but it can lead to increased stress and decreased productivity in the long run. Don't let the chaos of running a business hold you back any longer. Join our 12-month Real Women, Real Business Mastery program and start building the business of your dreams with clarity and confidence. If you're ready to achieve six-figure plus revenue growth, rediscover your passion for your business, and say goodbye to overwork, then let's chat. Book a free business planning session at aboutshaunalynn.com/plan. Check out the link in the show notes. Hello and welcome to the Real Women, Real Business podcast. I am your host, of course, Shauna Lynn Simon, and thank you so much for joining me today. Today, I want to take a bit of a look at a topic that I think is really important for helping us to grow and to achieve more and to live a really fulfilled life. And that is to step outside of your comfort zone. I think we can all probably think of a time in our lives where something felt a little uncomfortable. It didn't feel quite natural. It wasn't something that we had done before. It was something that was new, and new can certainly be exciting. It can be exhilarating, but new can also be absolutely petrifying. I mean, I talk about being what I call a serial entrepreneur, in that I have started multiple businesses over the years. And of course, a lot of people see all the successes that I have had. At the same time, I can tell you that not every decision I make turns out to be a golden one. Not everything that I do turns out to be an absolute masterpiece. So there's, a level of self-doubt every single time that I am, venturing into something that's new, something that's scary, something that I haven't done before. And I can sit there with all the spreadsheets that I need to and gather up all the facts and do all the research that I need to do. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's not going to necessarily make that comfort zone that much better or that much easier, because it's something I haven't done before, and I've got to take that leap of faith. And is it terrifying? Absolutely. I mean, find an entrepreneur who wasn't absolutely petrified of starting their own business. And at the same time, that's where the magic happens. It's absolutely exhilarating. So I want to talk for a moment about a concept called the S curve. And you might have heard about this before, but this is something that we often use when it comes to describing the stages of growth and learning. So think about what the shape of an S looks like, of course, right? Starts out kind of flat, gradually rises steeply, and then flattens out again at the top, basically forming that shape of an S. So when you're in your comfort zone, you're typically at the beginning of this S curve. You know what you're doing. Things are pretty flat. It's pretty smooth sailing. You're kind of just trotting along each day. It's a place where you feel safe and in control, because you're really not challenging yourself. And the challenge for us, I think, is that, as much as they say in life, the one constant is change. And it's so true, because we are constantly pushing ourselves to adapt to the varying things in our environment around us, whether it's due to, some significant circumstances that, like, the weather just destroyed our house, or it could be something as simple as, having a baby, and that's going to be life-changing. Let me just be clear here. I did not mean to say that having a baby is simple. But you get what I mean, though. It's, we're experiencing life-changing things on a daily basis. Some things we can control, some things we can't control. And when we're in control, it feels really comfortable, it feels really cozy, and it feels really nice. But it can also be something that can lead to levels of depression. It can be something that leads us to feel stalemated. So we need to be challenging ourselves in our life. We need to be changing things and adapting to change. And the reality is that if things are just staying the same, there's really no growth happening. And so we need that growth in order to evolve and to improve and to be a better version of ourselves each and every day. So as you begin to step out of your comfort zone, you enter into that steep part of the S curve. And this is where the real growth happens. It's uncomfortable, it's challenging, but it's also where you're going to start to see that significant progress. You're learning new skills, you're facing new challenges, you're experiencing rapid growth. And then what's really cool though is that eventually, as you master the new skills and become comfortable with these new challenges, you're going to reach the top of that S curve where things flatten out again. They feel pretty comfortable. This is the new comfort zone for you. And you can actually look down and see where you came from and see what you've achieved, see what you've created. And here's the thing, we want to ensure that we are, of course, enjoying the success of that accomplishment of, breaking through that challenge. It's important to recognize that you've accomplished something. But it's also important that when you reach this plateau, that you understand that it's time to push yourself again. And so we need to be constantly living outside of our comfort zone. Don't get me wrong, relish in that comfort zone for a little while. You deserve it, celebrate it, enjoy the win. But you've got to also push yourself to that next part of that steep curve. And so, you have to be willing to move from one curve to the next to keep growing. Each time that you're stepping out of your comfort zone into a new phase of growth and opportunity, that's where the real magic is happening. Okay. In that growth zone, that space outside your comfort zone where we're challenged, we're learning, and we're growing. That's where the magic is happening. So here's why I want you to step outside your comfort zone. Here's why I think that that's such a special place to be. For starters, the personal growth that comes with it. I am someone who has always enjoyed learning. I tend to surround myself with a lot of like-minded people who also enjoy learning, and we're continually teaching each other new things and evolving. And it's very, very rewarding when we push ourselves beyond what's familiar, when we start to develop new skills and discover, strengths that we didn't even know that we had. It can feel so exhilarating. Great example of someone who experienced great personal growth through pushing themselves beyond their comfort zone. Let's look at Oprah Winfrey, for example. So she started off actually as a local news anchor, but she started taking on some new challenges and expanding her horizons. And was everything that she did perfect at the beginning? Not necessarily. I mean, she was sort of a gossip talk show host and wasn't really given a whole lot of credibility on it. But look at what she's built. She's now a media mogul. She's a philanthropist. She's one of the most influential women in the world. And what would have happened if she hadn't pushed herself to step outside her comfort zone, to try new things, to try different things and see where it might take her? Now, the other great benefit to stepping outside of your comfort zone is throughout this personal growth, it's going to help you to increase your confidence as well. As you step outside that zone and you succeed, your confidence is like a muscle that you get to build. And the more you use it, the stronger that it gets. Michelle Obama, I think, is a great example of someone who stepped outside her comfort zone and gained so much confidence, whether it was in her role as first lady or a lawyer or as an author. She's talked quite openly about how all of these things have helped to build her confidence. Did she know what she was doing? No. Do you think any first lady stepping into that office has a clue what they're doing? No, it's not something they've done before. But Michelle Obama, I think, has faced so much adversity and so many of these challenges with such confidence, despite facing doubts and the challenge of it all. She really embraced the new opportunities. She embraced her responsibilities, and it allowed her to grow into a more confident and influential leader. And I think most of us are quite grateful that happened. So when you step outside your comfort zone, you also open yourself up to new and exciting opportunities that wouldn't have been available to you if you just stayed where it was comfortable. So a great example of this is Sarah Blakely. If you don't follow Sarah Blakely on Instagram, I highly recommend it. She's incredibly entertaining. The things that she does, she's so real. And what I love about this woman is, she talks about the fact that she was laughed at by everyone when she first came up with her idea of Spanx. So if you're not familiar with Sarah Blakely, she's the founder of Spanx. And, I call her one of my favorite accidental CEOs because she set out to solve a need in the world, to solve a problem that she saw women having. And frankly, she was solving it for herself. And if she could help some other women along the way, fantastic. And, she stepped outside of her comfort zone. She had no fashion or retail experience whatsoever. And yet she developed this incredible brand into $1 billion brand. I mean, what she's achieved, despite having no real plan necessarily when she was starting out, she had a desire and a purpose. And none of the knowledge that most people would expect her to have to be able to create what she created. And I'm sure that she made plenty of mistakes along the way, but she celebrates the successes that she has because she sees how stepping outside of her comfort zone and challenging herself has led to so much greatness. And then the last thing that I want to touch on when it comes to stepping outside of your comfort zone is the resilience that it builds. When you face challenges head on, it really does flex that resilience muscle and makes you so much stronger. You learn how to bounce back quicker, and it makes you more adaptable to be able to handle anything that comes your way. I think Nelson Mandela might be the greatest example of resilience. He spent 27 years in prison. And when he came out of it, he made a commitment to ending, the apartheid and in uniting South Africa, and his ability to maintain that hope and resilience through so much adversity not only shaped his leadership, but also inspired millions around the world. It wasn't just South Africa that he was impacting. I mean, he's impacted so many people around the world. And, it really kind of shows how you can take those personal hardships and turn them into powerful movements for change. One thing that I talk to my clients about often, it's not uncommon for entrepreneurs to experience challenges and difficulties. And we talk about resilience, and it's something that, it's easy to look back on and say that person was resilient. But when they're going through it, it's one of the hardest things that they do. And of course, we know that we're going to be stronger because of it, but it's really difficult to keep that mindset and see the other side of it. And so the one thing, if you're feeling like you're being challenged and you can feel that you're building that resilience, and you're going to come out on top of it, but it's really hard in that moment. Here's what I want you to tell yourself. I am writing my comeback story, because that is a powerful statement to make. That shows that you are going to make it onto the other side of it. Okay, so what do I mean by stepping outside of your comfort zone? How exactly are you going to do this? Well, I don't want you necessarily like jumping off of a building or anything like that tomorrow. I want you to, take some small leaps of faith. So start off small. You don't have to, just dive into the deep end. Start with some small challenges. Start challenging yourself in small ways. How can you do that? So maybe it's trying a new hobby. Maybe it's saying yes to an opportunity that scares you a little bit. I know when I first took up boxing, that was scary. And in fact, I have actually requested that my trainer continually challenge me. If I feel myself getting too comfortable, I know that there's so much to learn in boxing. You have never learned all the things in boxing. Let me be clear. And so I find, when I'm feeling a little bit comfortable, when I'm feeling like, I'm not focusing as well as I could be, I know that means that I need to learn something new. And one of the things I've spoken about this previously on this podcast, but one of my favorite things about boxing is that the amount of focus that it requires to do the movements, to do the technique, to not get punched in the face, you really have to be present and in the moment. And where I can tell that I am not being challenged in boxing is when my mind starts to wander a little bit. Things have become too muscle memory for me. So I definitely need someone to push me outside of that a little bit. Okay, so we're going to start off small. Maybe, like I said, maybe it's a small hobby. Maybe it's just saying yes to an opportunity that's come your way that's absolutely terrifying. I know for a lot of people that might be public speaking, for example. Maybe there's an opportunity to get in front of some great people that you can really do some great business with if you can just get past your fear of public speaking. So then I want you to set some goals. Be specific. So I've talked about SMART goals before. I want you to be specific, make sure that these are achievable goals that require you to kind of stretch your current abilities. So the goals should excite you and scare you just a little bit as well. So for example, I'm going to say this publicly now. I've mentioned it to a couple of friends. I am hoping to run a marathon in 2025. And so this is something that actually, I shouldn't say I'm hoping to. I am planning to run a marathon in 2025. I am aware that at 46 years old, there are a lot of things that can come my way between now and when I'm ready to run this marathon that could get in the way. If that happens, I will run a marathon another day. This is my goal. I am determined to run a marathon. I have spoken on this podcast before about being a runner. It's something that has always challenged me. A great deal of that is because I have asthma, and it's something that I wasn't even sure that I should like or that I could be good at because of having this it's difficult for me to breathe. It's difficult for me to manage my breathing when I'm running. And it's something that I've learned how to overcome. Did I get rid of my asthma? No, I just found a better way to manage it and a better way to face that challenge, because I wasn't about to let that stop me. So my next way to challenge myself, because, I run pretty frequently and that doesn't seem to be challenging enough, is clearly I need to run a marathon. All right. So then the next step to get outside of your comfort zone, this is huge. I actually spoke about this on one of our recent episodes as well, but that is to embrace failure. I want us to stop talking about failure like it's a bad thing. Failure isn't the end. Failure is a part of the process. Every failure is a lesson that's going to bring you closer to success. Thomas Edison was one of the most famous people for talking about how he didn't consider anything that he did a failure. He didn't fail 10,000 times inventing the light bulb. He just simply found 10,000 ways not to do it. And I mean, I might be wrong on the quantities here. I don't remember if it was 10,000 ways, 1,000 ways, whatever it is, you get the idea that it didn't mean that he stopped. When I was dealing with my adrenal fatigue, I was working with my naturopath to try different regimens to help to heal my body. We were essentially rebooting my body. And it was challenging. And there were some things that I tried that just didn't make an ounce of difference. There were other things where, okay, it might have made a bit of a change, not as much progress as I would like, of course, but I didn't consider any of them failures. We just found ways that weren't working that would help to, sort of a process of elimination that helped to lead us to the things that would help my body. So I think that's pretty huge, is we want to embrace failure. What do I mean by embracing failure? It's not just about not being, I don't want to say just don't be afraid to fail. It's not about that. It's that I want you to not expect to fail, but to understand that failure is a part of the process and just eliminate that word from your vocabulary. And then the most important part about stepping outside of your comfort zone is you really need to surround yourself with support. So having a strong support system can make all the difference in the world, whether it's friends, family, whether it's a business coach, an accountability partner, whether it's finding an online community of similar like-minded people. Find people who encourage you to step outside of your comfort zone. I will say one of the greatest feats as a business coach is that this is something that we do with our clients quite often, is we are pushing them beyond their comfort zone. They set goals for themselves. My clients will often set goals for themselves, and I'll push them to set a bigger goal. It's not because I want to, overwork them or overwhelm them. It's because we're almost always naturally going to hold ourselves back from thinking a super big goal because it's just easier that way. It's comfortable that way. But this is why you need that big, audacious, hairy goal. You need to get out of your comfort zone and create that audacious goal and embrace that, because that is going to challenge you and that is going to bring you to greater things. And so that leads me to the next point, though, is you need to also practice self-compassion when you're dealing with this. I spoke about, removing the idea of failure as being even a word in your vocabulary. But the reality is that it is going to be, you're going to have some difficult days. When you're challenging yourself, you're not going to be perfect at everything. So be kind to yourself. Understand that you are challenging yourself and reward yourself for the accomplishments that you are making. Continue to work hard towards achieving the goals that you've set out and towards achieving that challenge and getting through that challenge, but celebrate your efforts, not just the results. So let's talk about how what does this look like in real life? Well, Richard Branson, for example, is known for taking risks and stepping outside of his comfort zone. I mean, look at Virgin Galactic, for example. He often credits his willingness to embrace discomfort as a part of his success. So this is something that, it's not just something that I'm telling you is a great idea. This is something that's been spoken about for hundreds of years, that the magic is going to happen beyond your comfort zone. Walt Disney is a great example as well. Faced numerous failures and setbacks. He was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination, if you can believe it. But he was persistent and he was willing to take risks outside of his comfort zone. No one else has created what Walt Disney was able to create. He was able to imagine and envision things that were beyond anyone's wildest dreams. And I'm quite certain that there were probably plenty of people who laughed at him along the way when he came up with this idea of doing this amusement park that was right out of a fairy tale, essentially. And instead, it led to the creation of one of the most successful entertainment companies in the world. Okay, so we've talked about how why staying in your comfort zone can hold you back and how the best things happen when you're willing to step outside of your comfort zone. I want you to take a moment to think about your own life. What's one area where you could step outside of your comfort zone? What's one small step that you can take today? And I would actually love to hear your stories. Please feel free to share them on social media with me at Shauna Lynn Simon, or through our website. Of course, I'd love to hear how you stepped outside of your comfort zone. So listen, that's today's episode. I hope that you are on the steepest part of your S curve. I know that I continue to push myself every day. And you know what, even just recording this episode just gave me some great reminders as I was writing through my notes on this and talking to you about it. It has me realizing that there's some big steps that I know that I need to take. And this is just the motivation that I needed to do it. So thank you for joining me on that journey. If what I'm saying here today is resonating with you, I really hope that you'll continue to tune into this podcast. Please subscribe to it on your favorite podcast platform. Leave us a review. But most importantly, if this is something that you feel someone else in your life can benefit from, please share us. That is the greatest way that you can show your support of this podcast, is by sharing us with someone else that you know can benefit from it. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'd love to hear about how you're pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. And until next time, keep thriving.